David Smith here with yet one more casino night instruction video. A few things before we start. First, this video is intended for instructional purposes for facilitating fun gambling games, not for money. Second, I don't recommend that you gamble for money. Lastly, if you're under 18, gambling for money is not legal for you. Let's talk about Blackjack. Blackjack is a fun game in which every player at the table plays against the casino or the house. So the players are not trying to beat each other, they're all trying to win against basically the dealer. So everybody at the table can win, everybody at the table can lose. Just depends on how well the dealer does and how well each individual player does. So let's get started. The first thing you need to know with Blackjack is how to add up the cards to make your hand. Basically, you start with 2 and you can add cards to that to get a better and better hand. But watch out, if you go over 21, you bust and you lose. Okay, let's take a look at how we use cards to build hands. The first thing you need to know is what they count for. So let's look at these 6 cards. These all count for face value. So that's 9, that's a 5, that's a 3, that's a 2, 6, and so on. The 10 card also counts for face value. It's 10. Face cards, such as the Queen or the King, count for 10, as does the Jack. Now the Ace is the interesting one. It can count for either 1 or 11, depending on what makes the best hand for you. Although you can never bust with an Ace counting for 11, it automatically goes to 1 if you go over 21. So let's take a peek here. What if I had these 2 cards in my hand? I'd have 13. How about these 2 cards? That's 20. How about these 2 cards? That's 19. How about these 4 cards? What do I have? That would be 17. What about these 3 cards? What would I have? That would be 17. No, I'm sorry, that's 20. So you get the feel for that. Now let's play with the Ace. How about that? That's 7 or 17. 17's not a bad hand. How about that? That's 10 or 20. 20 is a very good hand. You wouldn't try to improve that. How about that one? That would be 4 or 14. Most likely you'd take a card to see if you could do better than that. Finally, there's a 10 card and an Ace. That's 21 in 2 cards, which is called Blackjack. Okay, let's talk about how the game is played. Now, there's an essential thing about Blackjack that you need to know. You have to take the risk first. As the player, you're trying to get close to 21 so that you can really just beat the dealer. That's the goal. You don't need to be close to 21. As long as you beat the dealer, you win. But you're trying to get up there. So you get 2 cards at the start, and then you have the opportunity to add cards to your hand to make it better. But watch out, if you go over 21, you bust and automatically lose. So let's take a look at how a hand might work. The player gets a card face up, dealer gets one face up, second one face up for the player. But guess what? The second card for the dealer, you don't get to see that. So we have a 7 showing for the dealer. We don't know what that is. Now this player has 9. Now the highest card in the deck is a 10 card. An 11, an Ace could be 11, but it also could be a 1, so an Ace won't cause us to bust. So this is a safe hand to hit to improve. So the player's going to say, give me a card. Now we gave them an 8, so that means they have 17. That's a pretty good hand. If they take another card, it's pretty likely they're going to go over 21 and bust. So they're going to stay. Now we take a look at the dealer. Now the dealer has special rules. The dealer has to hit if they're less than 16 or less. This is 12, so the dealer has to hit, and the dealer got 21. Now that's a really lucky hit there, so the dealer is going to win this hand because they have 17, dealer has 21. Let's do another one. 1 card, 1 card. Okay, player has 19. They're not going to hit 19. That's too dangerous. They're going to most likely bust. Let's take a look at the dealer. The dealer has a 7. The dealer has 17. So now the player would win this hand. Let's do that again. So the player has 16, the dealer's showing a 7. Now let's say this player is worried about not being high enough to beat the dealer, so the player's going to take a hit on a 16. Kind of dangerous, most likely will bust, but let's see what happens. And the player did bust, 24. Doesn't matter what happens to the dealer later, the player busted first, the player loses. Okay, one last hand. Here we go. A 5 for the player, a queen for the dealer, a king for the player, and unknown for the dealer. Now this is another tough position for the player. They've got 15. Most likely they're going to bust if they hit, but the dealer's looking really strong with a 10 card showing. There's more 10s than anything else, so you kind of try to assume that the card you can't see that the dealer has is a 10. So this person is going to take the risk and take another card, and they got 24 and they busted. All right, let's talk about playing with betting. Now your table is going to have a limit. It might be $10, it might be $20, and that's the most a player can bet on a hand. So right now we're going to play with a $10 limit, and our player is going to bet like $5. I'll show you in a second. You have to bet first in blackjack. And there's no raising like with poker, there's no all-in like with poker. There are a few opportunities to increase your bet, but most often you just place one bet, you play your hand. If you win, you get that much from the dealer. If you lose, the dealer takes your bet. So our player is going to start off by betting 5. Once the player has bet, once everybody at the table has bet, then the dealer deals the cards. Player has a 7, dealer's showing a 10, player has a 4, that adds to 11, and the dealer has their mystery card. So now the player decides what to do. 11 is a really good hand to take an extra card, because if you get a 10, you've got 21. So the player's going to take another card, and indeed, they got 21. Let's see what the dealer has. The dealer has 20, which is a pretty darn good hand. However, the player beats the dealer, so the player gets another chip for what they bet. So let's do that again. Now this time the player's feeling lucky, so they bet 10. That's our max bet right now. And here's the cards, a queen, an 8. Player has 18, dealer's showing a 5. Player's going to stay. And one way you can tell the dealer is just to put the chip on top of the card. That's the signal that you don't want more cards. Now the dealer has to roll. Dealer has 15, and the dealer has to hit all the way up to 16. Dealer has 19. Dealer got a lucky hit there and takes the player's chip. Okay, now the player's feeling a little bit shy, so they're just going to bet 1. And here's what we could do. Oh, there's an ace. There's a 7. Player has 18, right? 11 and 7 is 18. Now the player might be tempted to hit because they can't bust, right? They can't possibly go over 21. Unfortunately, it's most likely that their hand will get worse. A 10 is the only way to have the same hand, and if they get a 5 or better, they're gonna have a worse hand. So they're gonna stay on an 18. Dealer's showing 16. Dealer has to take another card with 16. Dealer got 24. Dealer busted, so the dealer pays the player. One last hand. Now the player is feeling strong again. They're going to bet 10. They get a king. Dealer has a 9. They've got 15. Not so good. Now the player's faced with that challenging choice again. Dealer's showing a 9. If you figure that for a 10, it means the dealer might have 19. That's a good hand. 15 is not so good. It won't beat a 19. So the player's going to take another card and see what they get, and 25, they lost. Now that you've watched the video, a few things to think about. Run over the game in your mind and make sure you understand what you just saw. Feel free to watch the video again to clear up any questions that you might have. If you enjoyed the experience, please click like and subscribe.